Just kidding. I'm just joking. I'm kidding. Because I was planning, I had a whole plan for you guys. I was going to let you carry my water today. You guys disappointed me here. Okay, we're going to talk about your health care benefit. I'm still going to ask you guys a couple questions. So. Okay, we're going to talk about your health care. Listen, you have a great program here. Want to talk a little bit about it and talk about why it is such a great program. You can carry this into retirement. You know that. Very few employees in this day and age can even carry their health care in retirement. Now, I want to explain why this program is somewhat unique and really a very, very good program. You get the best of both worlds. And what I mean by that is when it comes to health care, if you talk to somebody that's not a federal employee that's in the private sector, and you guys want the same thing. We want affordability and we want quality of coverage. We all want the same thing. And I would submit to you, you get both. Let me explain why. I don't know whether you realize this or not, but did you know they're paying 72% of your premium for you and your family? 72%, that is a heck of a deal. Okay? So it's affordable. Now, I want to talk quality of coverage a second. We were just talking before here during the break. Who has a definition of quality? See, you have your own personal definition of quality. We all have a different definition of quality. And my point here is that you got to define quality is the amount of choice that you have. Picking something out that suits your personal needs. And see, that's the benefit and the uniqueness of your program. I don't really know of anybody that gets the amount of choice that you have in this program. I really don't. I mean, I don't know whether you realize the level of choice, but there's 256 plans in this program. Most of them are local, HMO type of programs. But no matter where you're at in the United States, you have no less than 11 national programs to choose from. You have a heck of a lot of choice. I tell every class this, but you should never run into a circumstance with your health care that should bankrupt you. You'll find something to deal with what you're dealing with. Sometimes you have to research it a little bit more during an open season, but you'll find something to deal with your problem. And everything in there was created for a reason. You know, this stuff has been too politicized, too commoditized. Too many people go, that's good, this is bad. Everything in there is created for a purpose. And I want to kind of give you some working definitions really quick so you can use this in a wise way. I'm going to give you 3 basic working definitions. We'll get into more as we go on, but let me first talk about an HMO. HMOs are what we call health maintenance organizations. Now, if you tune into the financial media or any media in general, they'll go, they're garbage. They should be sued and they should all be thrown in jail. Listen, and there was a period of time where those folks got in trouble. It was 20 years ago, I believe. But listen, HMOs do serve a purpose, health maintenance organizations. Typically, the premiums are lower, but you have a tight network of providers. You have a gatekeeper. If you want to go to a specialist, they have to refer you. That's the reason premiums are typically lower on an HMO because there's more cost control measures, but you got a tighter network and you've got a gatekeeper, okay? And that's where people had problems because they thought that, the coverage, the primary care provider was, not giving them the coverage that they had hoped or wished or whatever. I'll tell you where HMOs work well. Health maintenance organizations. They were designed to prevent things from getting worse. They want you to get your problems taken care of ahead of time. And so my point here is if you have a degenerative condition that's not going to get better, it can only get worse, HMOs are not a bad consideration to look at because they are aggressive on paying something in that instance. Well, let's pay now because it can only get worse to delay or avoid a bigger claim down the road. Best plan I ever had, MS is a degenerative condition. Best plan I ever had was an HMO. I mean, they were paying for drugs that my PPO option, I had a dual option plan. My PPO wasn't going to pay a nickel for. There was one drug that was 10 grand a month that had just gotten FDA approval that her doctor wanted to put her on. And had gotten approved by the FDA, just had gotten approved. The PPO wasn't on their formulary list, so they're like, it's not on the list, we're not paying it. HMO said, you know what, we'll pay it, $5 copay for a year and a half. And that drug was 10 grand a month. They took a look at it. So you got to take a look at this stuff in that case. Now, if I were running the ERs every week with my 5 kids, you're not going to like an HMO because you got to get the gatekeep. You got to go through a whole legwork of stuff, tight network, and know what a network benefits. Now, PPOs are the folks that they know they're going to have some claims. They just don't know when they're going to happen, how they're going to happen. Usually have a broader network. You have some pretty rich out-of-network benefits, even if you go outside the network. And that's for the person that wants choice. Premiums are typically higher. It's a pricing or risk. You can pick who you want when you want. You don't need a gatekeeper to go to a specialist. You can go where you want, when you want. Okay, but the premiums are higher. But again, you have the options that you want. Point of service. Let me talk about that briefly, because I know there's an option in TRICARE with that. Point of service is a little bit of a hybrid between the two. You have a gatekeeper that kind of you go through, and they direct your care to a specialist, but you don't have to go through that specialist. You can go, I disagree with you, I'm going over here. And they'll still pick up part of the tab, but it's not as good as a PPO as far as what they pick up. Okay, so it's kind of like a hybrid. We're going to get into more programs as we go along, but I wanted to give you 3 basic working definitions, so based on your circumstances, you can make the right call there. Okay? Your premiums went up 4%. They should be announcing, if they haven't already, it was supposed to be coming out any day, the premium increase for next year. Okay, now I'll be curious to see what it is, because I know insurance companies right now are very, very profitable right now in the health insurance arena, because the claims due to COVID-19, nobody's going to the doctor. Doctors weren't even seeing you for a while. So claims of utilization really plummeted this year. So hopefully you'll see that in a small premium increase. Hopefully that'll be the case. Last year they went up 4%, which is not bad, by the way. The year before that was 1.5%. Now listen, your premiums are going up at half the rate of what they are on the outside. Did you know that? Your premiums are not going up nearly as much. The reason why is you got 8 million people enrolled in your program, number one. Okay, and number two, you can spread the risk out amongst 8 million people. And number two, you got competition. If somebody ever jacked your premium up 25%, you got 10 other options to look at. This stuff baked in keeps your premiums affordable. It's a good plan. Now, eligible family members, this is an optional program. Your open season's coming up. It's the Monday of the second full work week in November every year to the Monday of the second full work week of December every year. And that's where you can make changes in your plan. You can change carriers, plans, bring family members on, take them out. Eligible family members are you and your spouse, sons or daughters under age 26. That includes step or foster children. They don't need, by the way, with the rules on 26, they don't need to be living with you. They could be married. They could have kids. They can come on. They can still stay on your plan as long as they're under age 26. Now, their spouse can't come on, and their kids can't come on, but they can. What if they're offered coverage through their employer? They're 25 years of age, and they're offered a job, and they said, you know what, we're going to offer you coverage. Can they stay on your plan and opt out? Yeah, they can. It's from the Affordable Care Act. Took effect 2011. Okay? So, no, that rule works. Also, somebody had a special needs question. This is a pretty good deal. On your health care, if special needs children, if they became disabled under the age of 26, okay, they never get married, okay, so that means that, they don't get married, and they can't support themselves. They can stay in this health care plan for as long as they live. Not as long as you live, as long as they live. That's a good deal. Okay, and you have the ability with your health care on that, okay? Now, to carry this into retirement, you got to meet certain requirements. Number one, okay, you got to be in the program on the day you go out the door. Number two, you got to retire on an immediate annuity. Remember your life insurance? You got to have a check to draw the premium from. No check? Can't keep it. Number three, you need to have been enrolled for 5 years or covered as a family member, 5 years preceding out. What I mean by that is it doesn't matter what your enrollment status is as long as you've been in the system. I get that question a lot. What if I went from self plus one to self plus family to self only to being a family member on my spouse's, federal employee spouse's plan? Does that affect my eligibility? Answer's no. You've been enrolled for 5 years, you're good to go. Regardless of your enrollment status. What if I've switched carriers, plans, or whatever? You're good to go. 5 years. 5 years from that date, okay? Not 4 years and 364 days. So that 5 years out, you got to remember the day that coverage became effective in that year that you took it. Okay? Just want to make you aware of that. If coverage took effect like January 3rd, you got to wait 5 years later until January 3rd. And that would kind of screw up the timing of your annuity benefit, but what are you going to do? Okay? That's how it works. Now I got a question for you here. Why do I have up there, you have to be enrolled on the day you go out the door, but you're also going to have to be enrolled 5 years? Sounds kind of redundant. Here's the reason why. If you have TRICARE, you got a heck of a financial pivot play. TRICARE enrollment counts toward these 5 years. TRICARE enrollment, so if you're sitting and you're enrolled in TRICARE, right now you're eligible to carry FEHB into retirement. The only requirement is you got to be in FEHB on the day you're going out the door. That's it. That is it. So let's say, for whatever reason, you're in TRICARE, you've been in it, and the pivot play is this. Last open season, your very last open season, you're in TRICARE. Last open season, pick up FEHB to exercise this pivot play. Here's the reason why. On the day you retire, on your 2809, you can suspend your coverage. Suspend it. That means you put it on a shelf. It's on a shelf. You're not paying for it. The day you're walking out, you were in the day you were retired. So you're enrolled. They see your enrollment. They see your TRICARE enrollment history. Now, you can take that and put it on, let's say, because you're thinking right now, I like TRICARE better. Fine. Guess what you can do? You can put it on a shelf. And now that option is available to you for the rest of your life. You don't look impressed by that. You know what an insurance company would charge you? Because you were enrolled, you picked it up during your last open season and it took, coverage took effect. They would charge you a lot of money. I mean, this is my point. You could be diagnosed with something with some massive claims. Next open season, you could knock on the door and go, hey, I want to activate this, and they got to cover you. That's a huge pivot play. And you're not paying for it while it's in suspended status. If you're non-TRICARE, you don't have that option. You TRICARE people, yeah, you do. It's a heck of a benefit.
You can't have both.
You can. I've had people that have had both. I don't want to get into the logistics of that because everybody's got their own specific health issues and providers that they have their reasons. Most don't, but some do. What's that?
Something bad happens, you're in TRICARE.
You can do both. You can do both. Okay. Most people don't. The ones that have, usually there's extenuating circumstances that they're telling me about regarding their health, a provider, something along those lines. But it's very specific in the claims that they're putting in. So those are kind of like outside the 9 dots. They've examined it and found out that, FEHB will start picking up something that is not as good under TRICARE or whatever. Or they're getting a provider or whatever. Things like that. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, can you speak up? I'm sorry.
Had an individual call his provider, and he was told ahead of time that that carrier would not allow him to suspend his health benefits. Was that employee just incorrect on the information?
You can answer that question. I've never heard of that.
I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Furtado.
Oh, sorry about that. Did I let the cat out of the bag? I'm sorry. I didn't. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to let the cat out of the bag, man.
It's fine. So for those wondering why I'm calling the 171st First Arc, but I'm also an adjudicator for OPM. So I do retirements and I do everything. So everything he's telling you is a lot of great information. I also encourage you to talk to the state representative of the HRO office. But so the form that you want to fill out is a 79-9. It's a health benefits suspension form. Anytime an employee fills that out, we always suspend coverage. You have to suspend coverage. And the reason why you want to suspend coverage, if you cancel it, you can never go back. And I'm sure that he'll be able to tell you the reason why that's effective, possibly with Medicare type A or B and C. I'm not familiar with Medicare aspect.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. You have a pivot play inside of Medicare with FEHB. It's Medicare Advantage.
I don't know if you also
Medicare Advantage counts as a suspension. That's on your RI-79 form.
So I don't know if you also want to talk about what we talked about yesterday, the effective dates for.
Yeah, I just did. You weren't here. You weren't listening. Yeah, well, that's your problem. No, I'm kidding. No, I did talk about that, about the effective date, because that was an excellent point yesterday. He mentioned that yesterday we were talking, and that is 5 years. It's not 4 years, 364 days. It's 5 years. So you got to take a look at the effective date from 5 years back. You've got to be enrolled in the program 5 years.
So so essentially how that works, when you guys fill out that form and you sign it, it's not the date you sign it, usually the effective date is sometime in October or November. A lot of times, the effective date's after the 1st of January. So if you're planning on retiring 12/31, he's going to talk to you about the best time to maximize your retirement, how it's going to affect your pension, how it's going to affect your new supplement. How you guys go to do that is so if you don't have 5 years as of 12/31, you're not going to be able to carry that into retirement. So the key is 5 years from your effective date, minimum, unless you meet one of those qualifying situations.
Yeah, he's talking about the person that jumped in. They're trying to time it exactly to 5 years. If you're in 6 years, it's not a problem. It's that 5 years. You go out to maximize your pension on 12/31, you would be at, in that example that he's just mentioning, maybe 4 years, 362 days. And that dog doesn't hunt. I mean, you didn't get to 5 years. And that's, so you got to be careful. It's the effect, the date the coverage took effect is, even though you elected it, doesn't matter. And it's interesting that you mentioned that because a lot of people think, well, I elected it during my open season. That's not good enough. It's the day the coverage took effect. Okay, so that November to December. Yes, sir.
With the suspense, when you go to, I guess, reactivate it, is it the same stipulations where it's only in open season or a life qualifying event?
Yeah. Same deal. Okay. This is the reason this pivot play is so important, though, the suspended status. A lot of people often like bring up the fact, they're like, I like TRICARE better and I don't see it ever changing. That, how do you know? I mean, and also the other thing I want to tell you is, well, he's not here today, but the guy that's moving to West Virginia. I did a class in West Virginia, and those folks had TRICARE. They hated it. I mean, I think it had to do with who was available as who they had access to. But they were like, I was like, yeah, you got a really great plan. And they were like, this plan stinks. We want they said we would prefer FEHB. We wish we had, the option of the, the civilian service program. And they didn't like it. So, and again, if you move to a different, you move to an area, maybe you're not as happy. The other thing is, too, what if you're diagnosed with something kind of, a little bit different or unique, and, you want to go to somebody that really specializes in what you're dealing with, that unique thing, You're probably going to be more apt to find something in all of the options you have available at FEHB. And my point is you could go in and pick it up right off the shelf. I'm talking about, kind of outside the 9 dots. But yes, sir.
Say, you deploy, you're in APHB, you deploy, they suspend it for your deployment, so you go on TRICARE.
Yeah.
You come back, you have to wait for Jason to open it up, or does it come right in?
No, the TRICARE, did that legislation go through? You were covered for 31 days after that, and then you can pick it right back up. That's But did they extend that to 6 months? There was pending legislation. It went dark on that. I was, because on your, you guys have that National Guard newsletter thing. There was pending legislation during the summer. I thought they don't quote me on it, because it went dark on the information that I went in the middle of the summer. But it looked like they were going to extend it. There was pending legislation. They were going to extend the TRICARE benefit to 6 months after you separated, just like foreign service. What's that?
That deployment within that 5-year window at the end, it doesn't matter.
No, because you're in TRICARE, right? You were in TRICARE.
Yeah, we get automatically enrolled.
Yeah. So the TRICARE, that's not going to hurt you. But if you come back and then you went to retire right away, you got to be in. You have to be in FEHB when you're going out.
But there's an option when you deploy that you can just have the government pay for your federal FEHB.
Yep.
Like you don't need to pay for
Yeah, there's a 5-point criteria on that, but yes, that's correct. But you got to go through the 5 points. That and the type of deployment, and a few things. There's a 5-point test on that, whether they'll pay.
back and get 6 months of
Oh, 6. Okay, so that did go through that, because that was for foreign service. So that did go through. That went dark. Okay, because that went dark. I couldn't find anything after June 2nd. The last thing I had heard was June 2nd. I couldn't find, there's nothing on it. Okay, thank.
Yeah, it's 180 days to the actual end date of your order. So
Okay.
you can't talk months, because it can stop in the middle of.
Okay, all right, good. So that happened.
Well, it does.
Okay, no, it's on forward, because there was pending legislation on, okay.
Depends on the type of order too. Depends if it's a 12301, 12304, 12302.
They were going to expand that for the 6 months. I know that. That's what they were talking about. But I didn't get anything past June 2nd. That was the last thing they wrote on it that I read.
Second is this year? Then that's, yeah, I don't know.
It was pending legislation. They were going to expand the 6-month window, regardless of the type of orders, type of deployment. It really had to do to COVID-19. It was due to COVID-19. They wanted to expand it for 6 months because a lot of folks are in service due to COVID-19. So they just wanted to expand it to everybody due to, whether whatever you're, certain parts of the country manning food pantries, whatever distribution of food. You're interacting with the public. So they wanted to expand it to, just in general.
Isn't TRICARE,
But I don't know whether that got approved. Sorry.
TRICARE is enacted by Congress, right?
Yeah.
So with all they could do away with it.
Well, and see, that's the point. What if TRICARE changes and it's no longer your cup of tea? See, by having the FEHB option, that's a pivot play. That's a huge pivot play. All of a sudden, you've got, 11 companies to choose from if they got. By the way, a lot of people don't know this. They were going to cut TRICARE funding, when they passed the Affordable Care Act. They didn't, but they were looking for money to fund it. They were going to use TRICARE funds to do it. Now they pulled it. They shelved it at the last second. And my point is, what's to say 10, 15 years from now, another piece of legislation, they pass a health care plan and they need funding. They might take a look at TRICARE. You don't know. My point is you don't know. I mean, hopefully they won't, but you don't know. Yeah, and that's the point. No, but you can never, as a matter of fact, I have an article, Military Times. When they created blended benefits, they transitioned the retirement system over to blended benefits. I read an article in Military Times, kind of interesting. They said, once we're done with this, we're going to take a look at the healthcare system. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be better or worse, but you don't know either. But they wanted to reform the retirement system before they they wanted to take a look at healthcare, though, too. So you don't know.
But that was one of the,
It's a big option.
told me to suspend your federal employee health benefit, don't cancel.
Exactly.
Because
It's not going to make a dime's bit of difference in your premium anyway. You're not paying for it.
is a political thing.
Healthcare's gotten political. It's just the reality of it,
Can you turn it back? Can you
2 years.
suspend it again after you turn it back on?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the reason that you're suspending it.
But I'm saying.
I'm going to give you the 4 reasons in
5
which you can
years
suspend
later-
your healthcare coverage.
5 years later, something happened.
Yeah, you can suspend it. It's the reason. If you go back to TRICARE, you enroll in Medicare Advantage.
Right.
You enter into the Peace Corps health insurance program, or you go on Medicaid. Those are the 4 reasons why. And if you do one of those 4 things, you can suspend your coverage. It's the reason. It's not the amount. It's not the time frame. It's not any of it. It's the reason why you're suspending it that counts. Like the RI-79 form that he mentioned, you're basically, I'm choosing to suspend my coverage. And you check off one of 4 boxes. I mean, that's really all that it is. That's all it used to be, at least. So that's a pretty good pivot play for all the reasons that I mentioned. Okay? Yes, sir.
I don't know if you're going to cover it, but I got a question on your last bullet for
Yeah, go ahead. Ask it now, because I want to cover MRTA, because I don't want to keep dwelling on MRA plus 10, so ask it now.
you're saying the premiums are deducted from the check.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what our premium is now, or are we picking up all of the government's portion as well?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. You want to know the kicker with your program? The 72% subsidy continues.
So it's still the same price.
Yeah. Okay, go find a deal like that on the outside. See how far you get. Yeah, it changes every year, but that's still generous. And how often has it changed, in all candor?
But that's why,
They're still getting a subsidy.
I think you kind of touched on it though. It's smart to review health benefit plans because it may
Oh, yeah, yes, absolutely. The average is 72%, absolutely. You're right. And you do need to review plans. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know where you were coming from on that. That's, yeah, fair enough, yes. But you have all your options. You still get your subsidy. It's a heck of a deal, is the point. Part of what I do for a living is admin work for mid-sized employers. I don't know of any, I don't know of one that even lets them carry it into retirement, let alone continue to pay a subsidy. It's a good deal. That's, you know.
Can you change your plans in retirement during open season?
Yeah.
Okay,
Change carriers, plans, whatever you want to do.
okay.
Okay? Does that answer, I don't even know whether I answered that guy's question. MRA plus 10. Did you get that on the MRA 10 thing? Okay. All right. This is the waiver to the 5-year rule. Be like a Vera VSIP, something along those lines. If you were, typically the rules are if you were covered from the last buyout authority, typically they'll grant a waiver to the 5-year rule. That means they want you out. I mean, if they're buying you out, they want you out. They don't want health care and eligibility standing in the way typically. But if they're waiving it, you'll know. There'll be a waiver attached to your application to retire. And those folks over there will get that and they'll see it. Okay? I want to talk about the transition similarities and differences in retirement. I want to talk about how your life will stay the same and how your life will change. Okay? First thing, in retirement, you have the same open season you have right now. That's not going to change. The dates are staying the same. You have the same coverage options. It's called discrimination testing. Carriers can't offer plans only to employees and not retirees. It doesn't work that way. Okay, if they offer it to one, they have to offer it to all. So the same carrier options are available too. That would fail what we call discrimination testing. Section 125 testing. So it would fail that testing. So if they offer a product to one group of employees, they have to offer it to all. You get the same government subsidy, which I mentioned before, so that means you get the same premiums. Let me talk about how your life will change. OPM, the folks at OPM are your contact, not HR anymore. They're responsible for your health care enrollment. Questions are directed there or services online maybe, but I would try to talk to OPM directly. Premiums are paid monthly, not bi-weekly. Okay, I've gotten some angry calls from people cursing praying for my death because they call me a liar saying their premiums exploded. Do the math, it's 12 times a year, okay? I've had people go, I can't afford this, you said it'd stay the same, and you can't even slow them down. It's once a month, okay? I've had people go, oh, go get your last leave and earnings statement. You got it? Yeah, I do. Multiply that number by 2.2. Oh, yeah. All those curse words I was calling, I didn't mean, I'm sorry. I mean, my point is, it's the same number, it's just once a month, you know? I've had that happen. Okay, now listen. Typically, the premiums you're paying right now, you've probably elected pre-tax on your premiums. Most do. Right now, you're paying pre-tax. In retirement, they're post. You'll notice that. You'll notice that. In other words, if your share of the premium is like $300 a month, that's an extra $60 a month in taxes you're going to pay. You're going to notice that. Okay, now 2 things on that. It's a shrink the gap opportunity. Number 1, if you're married to a federal employee, one's working, one's retired, and you got like self plus family, let's say. You got your family coverage. Who would you put the coverage on? Thank you. Yeah, the one working. I mean, okay, I've had people put it on the retired person. Why would you do that? Okay? You put it on the one working. Okay, I've had people argue with me on this point going, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. I can deduct it on my tax returns. I'm going to bring something up right now. I've had people go, I can deduct it. Schedule C. You don't know what you're talking about. No, you can't. Not anymore. The Affordable Care Act wiped out the deduction. What you can deduct on your tax returns now is anything above 10% of your adjusted gross income. That's what you can deduct. Okay, it wiped out the deduction is my point. Anything above, like if you're making $100,000 a year, the first $10,000 of medical expenses, that's what you can deduct. $10,000 and you can't deduct that. $10,001, you can deduct $1, okay? It wiped out the deduction. By the way, I'm saying this for a reason, not for my health. You have 2 programs in this thing that, if you remember what I just said, are pretty important later on that I'm going to talk about. 2 programs that you have. Okay, one of them you have. Not to put any pressure on you. No, I'm just kidding. Been doing the math over there? Okay, good. All right. Listen, he talked about it already. He mentioned it already. You can't cancel your coverage and expect to get back in. Right now, you guys can opt in and out of this program every year, right? Shake your head, you can. In retirement, you can't do. If you just came to him and said, I don't feel like it this year. I'm going to go on, my spouse works for the state of New Hampshire. I'm going on that. What are you going to tell him? You're gonna, goodbye. Can't come, don't come back to us. Okay, now my point is, yeah, the suspension is what he mentioned. The RI-79 form, TRICARE, that enables you to suspend it. But if you just cancel your coverage, you can't get back in. Right now, you can opt in and out. Okay? Also, the FSA program. You guys are in the FSA, right? Okay, who's ever enrolled? I had 2 guys in the back yesterday that were in the FSA program. I want you to know one thing right now. You can't carry your FSA account into retirement. Just know that right now. I'm going to give you an exit strategy here in a second. But right now, you cannot carry your FSA account into retirement. It goes away the day you go into retirement, okay? Just remember that. I'm going to give you a strategy here, but you need to remember that. Okay, now, so I already talked about it. You guys were smart enough and sharp enough to know and paying attention. You always put it on the one working. It's a shrink the gap opportunity. You want to continue to pay your premiums on a pre-tax basis. Okay, if you have a spouse. And by the way, it's not even just the pre-tax that's beneficial. You can save even more money by titling it on the one working. Has to do with Medicare. Has to do with Medicare, and I'm going to talk about that. All right. We talked about, he already broke it down, how dropping coverage is a cancellation and you're not eligible to re-enroll. Suspending it gives you the opportunity to get back in. There's 4 reasons in which the folks at OPM will allow you to get back in, and it's the reason that matters if you fill out the RI-79 form. TRICARE enrollment. You provide proof of the TRICARE enrollment, you're in suspended status. You can go back and forth. Number 2, Medicare Advantage. You have a pivot play in Medicare Advantage. You can go back and forth from the Medicare Advantage plan into FEHB. We'll talk about that one. Number 3, Medicaid. That means you're on, but you got to qualify in, asset and income wise. Healthcare is not going to be your biggest problem at that point. But if you went on a Medicaid program, that wouldn't be. You don't have any money. But my point is you could go on Medicaid and suspend your coverage here. And Peace Corps health insurance. Those are the 4 ways in which you can get back in. Okay, listen, I gave you a website here at the bottom. If you're concerned about survivor benefits for your spouse, I would encourage you to go into this handbook on survivor benefits for health care. Really, it's about 50 pages long. Boils down to 2 questions on survivor benefits. Eligibility. Here are the 2 questions. And if you answer both yes, they can keep coverage. Either one of them, no, they can't. Question number 1, were they enrolled at the time of your death? That person in question, were they in your program at the time of your death? In it, 5-year rule does not apply. Were they in on the date of your death? If you answer yes, question 2, are they entitled to a check? They got to have the check to draw the premium from. If there's no check to draw a premium from, they can't keep it. That's the reason you got to leave a survivor benefit check, right? Remember I said that? That's the reason you got to do it. They got to have a check to draw the premium from. So if you answer both yes, they can keep coverage. Either one of them, no, they can't. Fair enough? We got that? Listen, it's about 40, 50 pages. I've read the book, but it really boils down to those 2 things. So what I would tell you is, if you want to get a more detailed version of it, and sir, remember the special needs, you die, not that they want to think about that, but my point is that special needs child can obviously continue.
Chris, that also includes if you were suspended, if they were enrolled.
Oh, great question. Listen, that's a great question. Let's say that's the only risk to the suspension thing on TRICARE. If you die in suspended status, you're the employee. You got to get them back in. They can't get back in. They're locked into TRICARE now. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Did you hear his question? What if I die while I'm in suspended status? You're the employee. You got to get them back in. Like you're the employee. You got to get them back in. So you would fill out the RI-79 form. You could die the next day if you left them a survivor benefit check. Okay? They just got to be in on the day. 5-year rule does not apply. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay? All right. Okay, listen, I got some cost-saving ideas up here. probably don't have much time for this, but because I want to talk about your tax plays. Listen, let me cover a couple here that are relevant due to COVID-19. These are ways to save, these are on major claims, what I have up here, ways to save on your health care. Most of this stuff you know, just from this group, you seem to kind of know your stuff here, but you know, just confirm on a major claim all providers are in network. You know that already. You know, somebody involved in your care could be in network, somebody could be out of network, like the anesthesiologist, you get the surprise on that, they're out of network, but the surgeon's in network. You're going to be responsible for the difference. Listen, let me give you the third one. The third one's kind of important, but I just want to stipulate something. Don't be a jerk. By law, you don't have to give out your Social Security number, but be diplomatic. But whenever possible, don't give out your Social Security number. Request a medical record number. But be diplomatic, okay? Somebody's going to be cutting you open. You don't want to go, hey, you know what, by law, I don't have to give it to you. What do you think of that? They're going to be cutting you open. Leave a rag in, you see how you like it. No, I'm kidding, obviously, but that's a joke. But here's my reason why. I mean, be respectful. You know, OPM, did you know OPM's told you not to give out your Social Security number whenever possible? Because you've had too many breaches? Blame it on just blame it on your employer. You could say to them, look, I have been told, I'm a federal employee, I've been told not to give out my Social Security number. I would respectfully request a medical record number. Here's the reason why on that claim. It's how they would identify the claim. If you ever have a disagreement on the bill, like, you know, they're charging you for something and you know you didn't receive care or coverage for that charge, and you're responsible for it, and you say that's ridiculous, I'm not telling you to skip out on a surgeon bill. What I'm trying to tell you is they're saying they're charging you for something that you know didn't happen, and you have a disagreement, and you say, I'm not paying it. Well, if they have your Social Security number, they're going to send you to collections. Okay, collections, kind of like the mob. They'll start calling you going, you pay us or else. We'll wreck your credit. And my point is, if you have a medical record number, they can't send you to collections. They got to send that Social Security number up to collections. They have no leverage. And my point is, you can negotiate then at that point. You can negotiate with the provider. I'm talking about you have an honest disagreement. I'm not talking about something that's legit. I'm talking about you can negotiate that. You could say, hey, look, I don't mind paying for the, you know, I didn't receive this. And you can negotiate that, and you can get it done in an afternoon sometimes with accounts payable at the provider. But you've lost that leverage by giving them your Social Security number. So I'm not saying be a jerk, be respectful, but go, look, I'm a government employee, I'm not supposed to be giving out. I just want a medical record number. Believe me, we've had folks, speakers in our classes that have done that. They'll push back, the providers push back because they want to make sure they get paid, but they know they have to do it. Okay, I just had a guy about 3 months ago, one of our speakers, he said I went in and pushed they told me no at first, but I pushed it and they finally gave it to me. So, you know, they do have to do that. Also, telemedicine. I want to talk about this bottom one. Due to COVID-19, most insurance companies, and I know TRICARE specifically, have waived for telemedicine. They've waived co-payments. Most insurance plans have due to COVID-19. So you might want to, you know, take advantage of telemedicine options. Okay, because most plans have waived the co-payments, and the co-payments on telemedicine are cheaper anyway. So if you haven't taken a look at that due to COVID-19, it's something worth exploring. Now, there's certain things you might not want to do telehealth with. You know, they're obvious, but, you know, if it's something that you know that you need, you have to go in for a visit, but you know what the problem is and your provider does, you can handle telemedicine, lower your co-payment. Or they waive it even, so.
Quick question.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I mean, I don't know if this is obvious or not, but if we're on TRICARE or we're on PPO, you know, FedBlue,
Yeah.
give an example of when we are going to be arguing with the healthcare provider over the cost as opposed to just having that discussion with the insurance provider. You know, I'm trying to understand, you know, what you know, if I'm paying my healthcare, why, if the charge is the charge, you know, I'm trying to understand what are the circumstances when I'm going to be in that discussion. I understand.
There could, on your statement, there are certain things on statement of benefits. You know, it could be for additional care that they're charging you for.
Pay not covered. Or
Yeah, something outside your it could be something outside your benefits. I mean, look at your statement of benefits. There's usually a schedule of what they'll pay on each claim each aspect of that claim and what they'll pay. they could be charging you something outside of that. And, additional care, or maybe a certain type of lunch or special lunch that you never received, or something inside the hospital in and of itself that you requested that's not covered. And it usually has to do with ancillary things, comfort items and things like that. But you could say, I never received them. They'll go, well, yeah, you did. And that's where the argument can ensue. It's outside that schedule of coverage. That's a pretty good question, though. But yeah, it's usually typically in a scenario like that, because otherwise the insurance company would battle that. Okay, I got some prescription drug cost-saving items up here. I don't want to delve into it, but a lot of people don't. The only reason I have this up here is prescription drug costs are becoming a bigger percentage of the cost of healthcare claims in this country. For the federal employee workforce, it's about, I think it's 27% now. And outside the federal government, it's about 34%. So it's growing. So you got to start thinking about, how can I save on my prescription drugs? I got a couple things up here. Some of this stuff's common sense. Always talk to your pharmacist. Listen, I've been putting GoodRx up there for a long time, for years, before nobody even knew them. So I'm kind of proud of the fact you can't turn on TV without seeing a commercial for them now. And now they're expanding what they're doing. But it's all it is. It's a search engine. You type in the prescription, they'll price it out at all the local pharmacies. Does anybody ever take advantage of that? I got a question for you if you have. Have you? I had a couple people a couple weeks ago. I don't know whether this is true. You guys used to not be able to take advantage of the coupons. Have you ever taken advantage of a coupon that they give you? You have. Okay. I need to know that.
Yeah.
All right.
For GoodRx?
Yeah, for GoodRx.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're taking advantage of the coupons now. All right. I just need to know that, because you used to not be able to. Now you can. In the last couple times I've been teaching, I've had people say to me that they're taking advantage of the coupons now.
For sure.
Okay, fine.
I know it was a couple years now, but we've had the issue where, like,
couldn't use
depending
them.
on what pharmacy we went to told us that we could or couldn't.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
I've actually moved mine because the difference was so significant.
yeah, I just wanted to know. Before it was like everybody was saying the coupons don't work, this, that, and the other thing. And now I got people telling me that they're working. So just wanted to,
Yeah, like,
I don't want to give you bad information,
I
but
get all my scripts at Walgreens, but when I looked up on GoodRx on one of them, it was like $10 or $15 cheaper at John Eagle, so I moved it.
yeah, there you go.
Even with your insurance,
Yeah.
But the next one is really important that people don't know, I feel like. I don't know if you said you use that with your wife medicine, the manufacturer's website.
Oh, yeah. Listen, you know what I call that? Financial aid for medicine. Like your college financial aid. Same type of thing. Like if I had been under, you have to be under certain income levels and assets, but for me, I had to. Yeah, because fortunately for me, I had that at a $5 copayment. But initially, because I was in the other plan, I was trying to figure out how to pay it, and I was thinking, can I get financial aid? But for me, I had to be under certain income levels. I would have gotten a subsidy, but it wouldn't have been, I still would have had a problem. But yeah, if you're under certain, you have to qualify for that, a lot of that.
For the pharmaceutical ones that I've used.
For the manufacturer's website for available discounts?
Company, it's usually a brand name drug. You go to their site, they usually have a copay.
Oh, okay, that's something different. I'm talking about what I have up there is if you go to their website, or you can even go through your provider, if you've got a major cost drug that just got FDA approval, something that's kind of expensive, whatever. No, but the manufacturer, usually providers will work through that for you too. But you got to be under certain income levels. For me, I had to be. They weren't going to give me anything.
A brand name Xarelto or whatever, or inhaler or something.
Yeah.
A brand name is not generic. If you go to their website, you can get a
Okay.
assistance card. And it
Okay.
works with the FDHB. If you're on Medicare, though, it does not work. I do know that.
Well, yeah, that would kind of make sense, really. I mean, in a way.
Most people that are on Medicare that need that assistance don't have $400.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, you're going into government health care. That's what I meant. I meant more of that than anything. Also, always check generic. If you're on a generic drug, sometimes it's cheaper to go to a major retailer like Walmart, Costco, that type of thing. Sometimes it's cheaper not even claiming and going to them. Walmart was really promoting that 5-6 years ago? You pay $4, you get a generic. So.
They're even cheaper if you can get a script for 90 days.
Oh yeah, you know what? Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, it's usually you're talking like mail order deal type of thing in 90 days and signing up. Yep. You're right about that. You save a ton of money doing that. I got to put that one up. Yeah, you know what? It's funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking about that the other day. I was talking to somebody about that. That would be another good one to put up. Mail order, 90 days. You save a lot of money doing that. A whole lot of money.
You have to check those. Some insurance companies will not allow you to get a 90-day prescription.
Yeah, if you,
Depends on the drug, depends on also the carrier, yeah.
if you can get your doctor to prescribe the 90-day and verify it, some of them aren't even, the ones I found the cheapest aren't straight mail order, they're through like Walmart.com.
I would think like with, things where you're going to know you're going to need it, like diabetes. That's not going away, so I would think that 90 days would be, it would be easy to get that taken care of through that.
Sir, I didn't see up there, like, as a military retiree, a friend of mine just retired last year, and he had a drug that was like $600 a month, and TRICARE would not pay for it. If he drives to Carlisle, actually physically gets it from the pharmacy there, $10 for like 90 days. So that's an option we have. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of active duty.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yep, okay.
Yeah. It's just something we have as an option
Yeah.
as a military retiree.
I'm just thinking, okay. I got to think that one through. How
I don't know of anything out this way, but.
Okay, yeah. I don't know whether I would bring that up, me bringing that up, but. Okay, dental and vision. FedVip, 5-year rule does not apply to your dental and vision. You can opt in and out in retirement. The only requirement is you got to retire on an immediate annuity. That's it. They got to have a check to draw the premium from. That is it. That is the only requirement for your dental and vision. Now, the premiums usually don't go up as much as your health care, but the dental did. Last year went up 5.6%. Vision went up 1.4%. Self plus one, self plus families available. Children stay on this to age 22, not 26. This did not, the Affordable Care Act did not cover dental and vision. The reason, you can opt in and out of this in retirement, by the way, and the reason why is they don't care. There's a lot of flexibility with this because there's no subsidy to this. You're paying the entire premium, okay? FedVip is administered by Benefeds, and I have the number up there for it, just so you know. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. The biggest mistake, I got it up there. Biggest mistake I see made on FedVip, people aren't enrolled in it. It's usually on the dental. They're not enrolled because they're getting their teeth cleaned twice a year, and they're like, why would I do this? Which I understand, you're just paying your dentist. And then what happens is at the end of the year, the dentist goes, you got a problem back there. We got to, whatever. Like I had one where it was like a porcelain tooth or something. You need a cap crown bridge, something major. And then the person will say, hey, hold that thought till next year. And then they pick it up during their open season. They go in February for the porcelain tooth. And then there's on a lot of your plans, there's a waiting period of 12 or 24 months. You got to take a look. Now, you got a couple plans that have been introduced recently where there's no waiting period, but the premium's a lot higher. So don't be a penny wise and a pound foolish. Okay? I've had people that there's a waiting period in major dental work. They go in for the crown or whatever, and all of a sudden they're getting a bill for thousands of dollars, and then they freak because they're like, I got in this. Well, on major dental, it's a waiting period, so be aware of that. Now, again, you have some carriers they're bringing in now, and they're expanding the carriers that are in here, where the premiums are higher, but there's no waiting period.
You have to be in a FEHB. Do you have to be in your FEHP to have the vision and dental?
No.
You can get that even if you're on TRICARE.
No.
You can still get that.
Oh, yeah. No. You're good. You're good. Okay. Let's talk about ways you can save on your taxes, not only while you work here, but also in retirement. Okay? I want to talk about the family of flexible spending accounts. Do you have kids under 13? Is your kid under 13? No? Okay. I have a slide. Okay, yeah. Because I was going to say this, I was going to talk about a program. I don't have a slide on it, but I was going to bring it up but I'm going to bring it up anyway if you got a kid under 13. You have different things available to you, though. But I was going to talk about a basic thing you have in your benefits. I want to talk about the family of flexible spending accounts. There's 4 different accounts you have available to reduce your taxes. Okay? Now, the first one I want to talk about, you guys know, is the FSA program. The IRS calls it the HCFSA. Hotel Charlie Foxtrot Sierra Alpha. Okay? HCFSA, that's what the IRS calls it. You guys call it the FSA program. I'm going to use that thing over here. Okay, now, you elect this during your open season. You elect it during your open season. You can elect a flexible spending account with any health care program in the FEHB system. You don't even need health insurance. You could do this. Okay, now you can use this. I'm just saying you have a lot of flexibility. Anybody can do this, basically. Now, I got a couple people that are enrolled in it here. Flexible spending accounts work, you're setting up an account. This works very well for people who have fixed, predictable medical expenses not covered by their health care. Fixed, predictable medical expenses. Okay, now, this year you could put in as little as $100. The maximum you could put in this year is $2,750. And if you have an eligible spouse, whether they're a federal employer or not, they can do $2,750. So you could do as much as $5,500 a year. Now, you're enrolled in it, right? What is the financial benefit of doing this program? Taxes. And this is more attractive with the Affordable Care Act. Let me explain how this works. This is you. He elected how much money he wants to put in. Anything between $3.86 a pay to $107.95. Anything between those two amounts of money over 26 pay periods. The money goes in pre-tax. There's no IRS sifter here. For any qualified medical expenses not covered by my health care, the money comes out tax-free. There's no IRS sifter anywhere here. Here's my point. If everybody in this room had $2,000 of medical expenses not covered by their health care, you'd have to earn $2,400 to pay the $2,000 bill. This gentleman and anybody else, those guys in the back that raised their hands yesterday, they only have to earn $2,000 to pay $2,000. They save $400 right off the top. So they save that immediately tax-wise. And by the way, this is more attractive with the Affordable Care Act. Why? How much can you deduct on your tax returns now? Anything above what? Anything above 10% of your AGI. This guy's deducting $1. He's deducting $1. Instead of the rest of you guys, you have to wait till you're above 10% of your income. That's the benefit, and that's what makes this more attractive now. So this seems like a good deal. Why doesn't everybody do it? Like, I only had 4 people here yesterday. Like, if I asked the rest of you, like, why aren't you doing it? I know what you would tell me. If I don't use it, I lose it. Nobody likes losing their money. I get it. This is the problem with that. See, you're not looking at this in the right way. See, when you're thinking about qualified medical expenses, you're thinking like, deductibles, co-insurance, co-payments. It's a lot more than that. But not only that, let me put out something else why I have an argument why everybody should be enrolled in it. You don't lose all the money anymore. You have a $500 carryover option now. If you have $500 in that account, if that's the balance at the end of the year, that money carries over. You don't lose it. And so my point on this is the minimum amount you can do is $100. You could do this 5 straight years, not spend a nickel of it. You don't lose that money. You don't lose that money at all. That's my first argument. Let me tell you what my second argument is. Have you guys ever taken a look at the definition of a qualified medical expense for this account? See, I'm telling you right now, you're thinking it's deductibles, co-insurance, and co-payments. It's a lot more than that. What I have up here are the Cliff Notes. Okay? Go into FSAFeds.com. Before your open season, I want you to go into FSAFeds.com and take a look at the extended list of eligible expenses. I think you'd be shocked. I think you'd be absolutely shocked. Dental procedures. Or if you have a kid that needs braces, I can show you right now how to save $1,000 using this account. I'll bet you $500 I can do it. No, I'm kidding. But my point is you can save a lot of money. Okay? Also, COVID testing can come out of that account. That's from the CARES Act. Flu shots, blood pressure monitors. I had a guy diabetic last week. He's running the testing stuff. You take your blood, you test it. He's running all that. That stuff gets expensive, what he was telling me. Yeah, he was telling me about that. Really. Orthodontics, dental procedures, hearing aids, LASIK surgery, eyeglasses, prescription sunglasses, all can be run through this account. Okay? Physical therapy, chiropractic services. Take a look at that one, massage therapy. Really? I had a guy running acupuncture through this. Another one was running yoga lessons. It's a broader definition. Anybody go to a gym? Gym membership dues can be used out of this account. All you need is a letter of medical necessity from your doctor. You know what that letter is? A doctor saying you need to get in shape. What doctor's not going to tell you that? Yeah, I've been searching for that one. You're too healthy. My recommendation is to sit on the couch and drink beer. And my point is you can get this letter. Gym equipment can be run through this account if you get a letter of medical necessity, like a Peloton. Get a doctor saying, yeah, you need to do some cardio. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, you wouldn't get the whole thing, but yeah, those are expensive. But my point is, it's a lot broader. The gas to go to a doctor, the gas to go to a hospital, the gas to go to Walgreens can be used out of this account. You get a mileage claim form you fill out. It's 20 cents a mile this year.
Are you saying it rolls over year after year? No.
$500 is the balance you can have.
But
The
just-
rest, if you had $510 in the account, at the end of the year, you lose $10.
You have to re-enroll every year.
Yes.
I got screwed with COVID.
Yes.
I had a rollover, couldn't go to the doctor, couldn't spend it. They took it,
Yeah. Oh, and you had more than 500 in there?
they took it. Where's it go?
Well, it was in their pocket.
How's that legal?
Well, you want to get them back?
Yeah,
Enroll in this again.
okay. Oh, I plan on it.
Revenge is sweet, and I'm going to give you a sweet way to get them back. I'll get that money back for you here.
What do you do when you retire?
Retire at the beginning of the year.
What's that?
Retire at the beginning of the year. If you want to maximize this, you want to get them back? Like, how angry are you? How set on revenge are you? I mean, this might wreck your pension, but at least you got them back. No, I'm kidding. It's not going to wreck your pension. I'm joking. But I'm going to take you through a scenario here, okay? Also, I want to talk about the CARES Act and how they've expanded this, how this is even more attractive. Over-the-counter expenses like bandages, contact lens solutions, hand sanitizers, obviously due to COVID-19, are an eligible expense that can come out of this account. Braces, supports. Have you ever gone to CVS? Menstrual products now, they expanded. That'll survive beyond COVID-19. That'll expand into menstrual products. But have you ever gone to like CVS and they give you like the Declaration of Independence receipt? You ever read that? They'll give you a list of things you bought that can come out of your FSA account. They'll tell you like that you bought this, this, and this, and you can claim that. So take a look at that. The other thing I want to point out, who's in it? You're in it. Did you know this? With the CARES Act, you used to need a doctor's prescription or a doctor's note for over-counter meds, right? They've waived that now due to COVID-19. That's a big one. Like pain relievers, cold and fever meds, all of that. That's been waived due to COVID-19. You can walk in and start buying that stuff and run it through your FSA account without a doctor's note. Without a doctor's note. I don't know whether you knew that, but you know, take advantage if you're like, you got some money in there. Because that stuff you always are going to need, so. Okay. Okay. Your kid's 14. Yours is under that, though. Okay, I'm going to tell you about another account. If you have a kid under age 13, the next account, I don't have a slide on it, I'm sorry. Usually in a pre-retirement class, I cover the new employee mid-career class, but just let me cover it since I got a couple people that are kids under 13. It's called the DCFSA. Delta Charlie Foxtrot Sierra Alpha, okay? Dependent Care Flexible Spending Account. You can put money in this account. You can put up to $5,000 a year into this account, okay? Now this money goes in pre-tax. It comes out tax-free to cover the cost of caring for your kids under age 13 while you are working or looking for work. That's the IRS's definition. This is kind of important. While you are working or looking for work. Okay? So that means what would be an eligible expense that would come out tax-free? Babysitters, daycare, kinder care, pre- and after-school programs, music lessons. We just came out of summer swimming lessons, sport camps. If it's a day camp, you could run like you're sending your kid to football or soccer camp. As long as it's a day camp, because you're working during the day, you can run those expenses through that account. And it's a way of getting it pre-tax, come out tax-free. DCFSA, $5,000 a year, okay? That's the next account. I don't have a slide on it, but be aware of it. You might want to take advantage of it if you have a kid under age 13. Next account I'm going to show you, you might hate, you might love. Be ready. Now be ready. You got to get your thinking cap on. I'm using you as a prop. Okay, now listen, what I'm about to tell you, you might hate, you might love. The one thing I will tell you about this program I'm about to show you, you need to know how it works. Here's the reason why. A lot of people often ask me, where's healthcare trending? What direction is it going in? Well, and this is what I want to tell you. What I have up here have been your pay increases over the last 7 years compared to your FEHB increases. Okay, now, anybody good at math? Which number's higher? I mean, my point is, your premiums are going up. Oh, wait a second. But before I talk about this, can I tell you how to get back at them? Okay. I'm sorry, can I do this really quick before I talk about this? I said I was going to tell you how to get at them. Okay? Now listen. If you retire at the beginning of the year, I'll give you an example of this. I had a psychiatrist at a VA. He retired February 1st about 3-4 years ago. And you know, like we handed him his report, and he was seeming kind of weird, and he was like, I feel really bad, you know, I had you do this report, and I'm retiring February 1st. He was retiring February 1st. And he goes, I'm not retiring February 1st, because he said, and I didn't even care. It was like, numbers aren't going to really change, so don't worry about it. He's like, no, let me tell you why. He goes, I'm going in for, this was like in October, about 4 years ago. And he goes, I'm getting LASIK surgery in January. Signed up for it. I'm getting it on January 15th. And I just found out, he was pretty upset. He goes, my health insurance doesn't cover it. They're not going to cover it. And I found it's going to be a $2,500 bill that I got to pay now. And I don't want to carry a $2,500 bill into retirement. So I said, and at that point I stopped and I was like, do you remember the flexible spending account program I talked about? And he was like, no, I wasn't paying attention. You know, he's like, you were boring. No, he didn't say that, but he was like, I've never been in, I wasn't interested. So I said, you might want to think about it. At the time you could put in $100 a pay period. I said, you might want to think about, if you're interested in this, getting this taken care of pretty cheap. This is what I mean. I said, sign up, put in $100 to pay. Here's the reason why. Let's say the first pay period was January 7th. $100 went in his account. A week later, he had a $2,500 claim for LASIK surgery. Hey, put it on your credit card, get the points. Here's the reason why. You can submit that claim. He's got $100 in his account. How much money do you get back? $2,500 came back to him. He had $100 in his account. Let's take it a step further. He's got one pay period left, right? Another $100 went in this account because he's going to pay it back over 26 pay periods. So he's got another $100 went in, but he's retiring February 1st. He retired February 1st. What happens to he owes him $2,300. They gave him $2,500. He paid back $200 of it. He retires. You can't carry an FSA account into retirement. What happens to the $2,300 he owes him? It's forgiven. He doesn't have to pay it back. There you go. There's your revenge. Yeah. There you go. No, you can do that. That's the rule.
They owe me $700.
Well, get them back. You can whack them for, if you really want to get them, go in the middle of January. Put in one payment. Yeah, you got to do it during the open season. That's the reason I was saying before, like, you know, we were just talking, and he gave you good reason. If you want to take advantage of your health care, the best time to retire is the beginning of the year. If you want to maximize your annuity, it's the end of the year. So depending on how much you hate them, you know.
Well, I can always just put.
No, but do you see what we're doing here?
Just put $10 in.
But do you see what but no, you got to make it, they'll only reimburse to the level of what you commit to. Like I told him to do $100 because that gets him his full $2,500 covered. If he went $10 a pay, they're not giving him $2,500. They're giving him $260. Okay? So you make you go major. Now, that almost seems too good to be true. And it's not. These are the rules. But let me explain the downside of this. What happens if he had done this and then not spent a dime of it and then he retired? What happens to his money? If he put $200 in the account and he didn't go for the LASIK surgery, they would have kept his money at retirement. That's the rule. It goes to zero. If I owe you money, it's forgiven. If there's money in my account, you can take it. That's the rule. Your last year in, be on the other side of the balance sheet. Use it early and often. Max it out like crazy. Heck, go buy the Peloton at January, get the letter of medical necessity, give yourself a retirement gift. Right? I've earned it. I think it's going to be next year. They haven't, I think they, you know what, God, they just posted the numbers for like, I think, have you seen it? 2,800 for next year?
27.
No, next year, but next year, they usually raise it by $50. I think they're going to they'll probably raise it by $50 for next year. Okay, now, the next account. Listen, a lot of people will say, if I keep doing the math on this, they're going to be taking all my money from my health care. So where's this going? Are they going to take all my money from my health care? I can tell you where it's going. It's going to high deductible plans in this country. Enrollment in high deductible plans in this country have increased by approximately 25% a year just over the last 4 to 5 years. That's where it's going. That's how people are affording their health care. It's like your auto insurance. You raise your deductible, get your premium down. And that's where I want to take you. I want to take you to the health savings account program. Now, I had, not to put you on the spot, I've had 66 federal employees enrolled in this program. I got 67 here, right here. My 67th employee. You don't win anything, I'm sorry, but not a whole lot of people know about it is my point. Okay? This is a program that is pretty well known in the private sector. And the reason why is you're seeing some ugly things out there as far as premium increases. But if you don't know how this program works, just know how it works, whether you fall in love with it or not. Now, HSAs are very similar to FSAs, but HSAs can only be used with high deductible plans. They can only be used with high deductible plans. And who sets the definition of a high deductible plan? The IRS does. You know why? These are tax qualified plans. Tax qualified plans. They're approved by the IRS. So what's the deductible of a high deductible plan, Chris, in 2020? If you're an individual, minimum deductible you can have is $1,400. Max out-of-pocket exposure, $6,900. So here's my point. If she's single and she ran up a $1 million bill up this year, the most she's responsible for by law, according to the IRS, is $6,900. They got to pay the $993,100 by law. By the way, did you know her max out-of-pocket exposure, $6,900, is the same as yours? The only difference here is the deductible. Affordable Care Act made it all uniform. Everybody's got the same max out-of-pocket exposure, basically. The only difference here is the deductible she has. She can have a deductible anywhere between those two numbers. Now, if you have family coverage, minimum deductible you can have is $2,800. Max out-of-pocket exposure, $13,800. If your family ran up a $10 million bill up, the most you're responsible for, by law, $13,800 of qualified medical expenses. Now, I want you to take a look at that a second. Forget about the HSA a second. Insurance is a pricing of risk. Do you think your premiums are higher or lower for this type of program? Lower. Did you do the math? If you did, don't worry about it. I won't put you on the spot.
I mean, I just looked at what I used to pay at Blue Cross, and then
Yeah.
now I have the DEHA, and the premium just for a single is $59.29, and I think like if I saw Blue Cross, it'd be $75.94 a pay. So they give you $75 a month back, like towards that deductible, so $1,500 deductible.
Okay, so you're saving, okay, you're close to about a third. You're saving about 35%.
Like if, after they give you back the 75, you're paying $43.58 a month. I don't know what you.
All right, you're saving about 35%.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so she's saving 35%. Let me give you the numbers. I got to put you in it. Okay, 50 out of the 67 people cut their premiums in half. I asked them all percentage-wise, how much did they save? Okay, 50 of the 67 said they cut their premiums in half. Okay, 7 of those individuals said they cut their premiums by 65%. Okay, 5 saved 35%. Okay, 1 saved 75%, 1 saved 80%. I had a guy at Picatinny said he saved 90% on his premium. My record, that was my record. I didn't ask anybody their deductibles. I didn't even ask her. My record was 90% at Picatinny. That was broken a couple years ago by a kid in Mechanicsburg. Second year with the government, saved like 92% on his premium. Now, he must have had a high deductible plan, and he was a pretty young guy. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you a scenario. That kid told the group, I was in a group of, like in front of like 500 people, he told the entire group the government's paying him to be enrolled in health care.
I feel like it was.
Yeah, well, okay, we're going to talk about this. So we cut our premium. That's the upside. There's good and bad to everything. What's the downside of this? I have a high deductible plan. So that means by law, let's say she's got a $2,000 deductible. The first $2,000 of medical expenses she's got to pay for. Doctor's visits, prescription drugs, co-payments, whole deal. She got to pay for. Now, once she hits that, she might have co-insurance, but once she hits $6,900, she doesn't have to pay for anything. They're on the hook. And maybe, she saved 35% on her premium. Probably a little bit more than that from the math you were going through. I just wanted to kind of cut to the chase there on that. Okay, so I saved that money. Now, the downside of this would be I have to earn $2,400 to pay that $2,000 bill. In her scenario, with this alone, that's what she'd have to do. But that's where they let you set up the HSA program. Because she has this plan, now she can open up an HSA account. And this is how it works. It works like the FSA. This is you. The money goes in pre-tax. This money earns return. It earns return. Comes out tax-free for any qualified medical expenses. Now, let's say she has a great, all right, I don't want to ask you how much you're putting in, but
I don't add any extra.
you're not putting any in on top of what they're doing? Okay, hold that thought. I'm going to come back. Okay, I'm going to come back to you. Okay, forget that a second. I'm going to come back to you, and you're going to tell the group that question too. Okay, let's say you put, you got a $2,000 deductible. My max out-of-pocket exposure is $6,900. Let's say I put $3,000 in my account. $3,000. And I have a great year. Nothing happens. I don't even buy Band-Aids. Absolutely nothing happens. Luckiest guy on the face of the earth. What happens to that $3,000 at the end of the year? Yeah, that's your money. Now that's your money. You could quit here, go work for IBM. You can take the $3,000 with you. That is yours. Okay? Now, I got $3,000 of seed money in the account. Maybe I lower my deductible even more. Maybe I lower it to $4,000. Now it's easy. I kick in the full $3,550. And I can let this money build up and build up and build up. I can have an unlimited amount of money build up in this account. Unlimited. Okay? I can keep letting it build up. What happens if you die? Name a beneficiary, don't you? Your spouse gets it tax-free. Kids pay tax on it, but you can leave it behind. You die, you can leave it to somebody else. Guess what else you can start doing? I don't know whether you know this. You can tell me whether you do or not. Once you hit a balance of $2,000 in this account, you can start investing your money. Should be 2. That's what the code says. You got to have a certain amount in the fixed.
I got an email, I swear that it says
1,000?
Yeah.
Then that's due to COVID-19, which I don't know about. But no, that shouldn't be. Maybe due to COVID-19, they waive that. I don't know. That's it should be $2,000.
in that account, and my money.
$2,000 has to be in fixed. But once you hit a balance, you can start investing the money. Stocks, bonds. It's like TSP for healthcare.
But you still can't take it out for anything unless it's a qualified medical expense.
You can. You'll just pay tax and early withdrawal penalties before 65. You can still do it.
Okay.
You want to get around that? No, not die.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, start investing your money. Who's the investment manager for your HSA account out here? Because it varies by region. I mean, I'll tell you some of your money managers for the HSA account in different parts of the country. Vanguard, Fidelity, TD Ameritrade's probably the most popular one in most parts of the country. T. Rowe Price. I mean, some names you know. It's not like Joe's Crab Shack or something. It's, it's something well known. Okay? I'm kidding, obviously, but
But you can also use it later, even to pay for premiums through retirement.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna throw it back to you. I want you to keep talking about these things. Okay, we're gonna get there, but you can start investing the money.
Yeah.
Okay, you know that then. Okay, good. You need to start taking a look at that too. Have you done it yet?
No, just sitting there.
Okay. Now listen. You know how you get around that? You said, you know what, I got to use it for, by the way, medical expenses outside of taxes are your number one expense in retirement. Here's my point. There's no statute of limitations on filing claims for reimbursement. You don't look impressed by that. You can save your claims and not claim them right now.
Yeah, well, that's what my sister did.
Okay, well then you could go buy a Harley in retirement and claim those things against it and get it out tax-free.
My sister has like $28,000 in hers, because she's been in a
Oh.
deductible plan for a while.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, my point
She
is,
told me all about it, that's why I went to, because I was all nervous about how much you had to pay.
okay, but see, you're getting the money out. Okay, you save those expenses. Now you can turn around and claim it and go buy the Harley.
Well, that's what she's been doing, she like saves them all up. for
Yeah.
A year or two, and she had a couple.
Okay, well, that's a way.
to look at, and
You
then-
said there's no way around it. That's a way around it. There's no statute of limitations on filing claims. That's a heck of a deal. Okay? Also, this is more attractive due to the COVID-19 CARES Act. Any COVID testing deductibles are waived. Insurance company has to pay the claim on a high deductible with an HSA account. So she could go in for COVID testing, and the claim would be paid, even though her deductible. That's a pretty good deal. She saves on her premium and still get that done. Okay? I'll tell you another reason why this is attractive. If you're going in for an annual exam, that's all you're doing, that's like your only claim. Did you know what was written into the Affordable Care Act is insurance company has to pay 100% of the claim regardless of your deductible? So if that's the only thing you're going in for is like an annual exam, you might want to think about this because they're paying the claim anyway. It doesn't go towards your deductible. You don't have to pay for it. They got to pay for it still. All right? Guess what else? The government puts money in your account. The government kicks money in that HSA account for you if you enroll in it. How much are they putting in your account? That's what I wanted you to tell me.
75 a month.
They're putting $75 a month in her account. Why would they put $75 a month in her account? I mean, she looks like a nice person, but I don't believe she is that nice where...
Because most,
Why?
and they're not covering all your insurance costs, you're covering it yourself.
If she saved herself 35% on her premiums, it sounds more like 40. She saves 40% on her premium. Who else did she save 40% for? She saved the government 40% on their premiums, and they're rewarding her for doing that, and they're giving her $75 a month for doing it. That kid in Mechanicsburg, he goes, the way I look at it, the government's paying me to have health care. His premiums were between $10 and $20 a month. He must have had a really high deductible. But he goes, the government's putting $90 a month in my account. I'm paying 10 or 20, they're putting 90. I'm making $80 a month by having health care. And if he doesn't use it, he keeps it. Yeah, well, it does. And that is. If you're not, listen, this is not the panacea. But this works well traditionally for young males. The average male under age 30, according to Blue Cross Blue Shield, goes to the doctor once every 3 years. So that'd be like, and that's the reason older folks will say, you need great, this extensive health care coverage. Yeah, okay, you want a Lamborghini when you're driving it a lot. Not if you're using it once every 3 years. Who wants a Lamborghini then? You're like, give me the cash difference. Give me a Chevette and I'll take the cash difference from myself. And that's how a lot of younger people, especially young males under age 30, look at it. They want to bring that, and that's really all you're doing. Does that make sense? This you can carry into retirement, folks. You can carry this into retirement with you. You can carry it into retirement. And by the way, this is how, you want to get partial premium conversion on your premiums? This is the way you're doing it. The premiums in retirement on this side of the ledger continue to be post. This is post in retirement. But my contributions here continue to be pre. So you're getting partial premium conversion. Now you're looking at it going, okay, that's a premium, that's a contribution. No, that dog doesn't hunt. I want you to think about it. You're taking your premium savings of 40%. What do you think she would do? You're taking your premium savings and you're putting it in your... That's what this is the only thing my employer offers me. I had a fully insured plan. They were charging me $1,000 a month to cover my family of 7. And they sent me a letter a couple years, like 7, 8 years ago, and they said, we're changing to a high deductible plan. $6,500 deductible, but my premium dropped to $323 a month. I saved $677 a month. What do you think I did with my premium savings? And if I don't use it, I keep it. It's a kind of a way of self-funding, personally self-funding your your health insurance. Does that make sense?
Is there a max you can put into it?
You mean balance-wise or contribution-wise?
Either or.
Contributions, family contribution is $7,100. There's no cap on the amount of money you can have in there.
So in essence, you could build that
Yeah.
high enough to where you could, for all practical purposes, almost, you could suspend your health care. And you.
Well, that's not an eligible suspension, but you could raise your deductible enough where the premiums are next to nothing.
Right.
Her sister, you said your sister, right? Her sister's got 28 grand in her account. I've had people, for some reason, I have a lot of people in Quantico. We have a contract in Quantico. We have a ton of people. Most of those 67 came out of Quantico. And it was funny. I had a lady that had, she had like 40,000 in her account, $40,000, and everybody was asking her questions like, you know, somebody like yourself going, do you like it? And she goes, oh, I like it fine. She goes, it's going great, and I'm building up all this money. But she said, I'm getting major surgery next year. I'm getting out of this. I want the insurance company to pay the entire claim. I don't want to use my money. She goes, I'm switching over to my fully insured plan to get the surgery. Okay, so she doesn't have a high deductible plan anymore. What happens to this money? Her 40, 50 grand. What happens to it? Nothing. She just can't put money in the account, but she can still utilize the money that's in there. She just can't put money in it. And then she said, after I get my surgery, I'm going back to this so I can keep putting money in the account. Now, somebody asked her, now I know, see, somebody asked her that question. Well, like, why don't you just use the money? Like, that's what it's like there for. And she goes,
Get out at all, though.
because she wants them to pay for it. She doesn't want to pay for it. The insurance company. She went back to her fully insured PPO plan. She's going to go in and have major surgery, have no deductible, have them pay for everything. Preserve the money in the account. Now you're asking, why would she do that?
Pay your deductible on the money you've been putting in there.
Why would she do that? You should know better than anybody.
I mean, she's saving for somebody else.
The max, that lady who has 40 grand in her account, the max that's at risk is $6,900. That's the max. So if you have 50 grand in your account, the most that you can lose in that account, that's the reason they allow you to invest it. The most you can lose is $6,900. Okay? Now, yeah, okay, that doesn't matter, the July 15th thing, they extended it. Google IRC 213D as in Delta if you want to take a look at the eligible expenses. Now, a lot of people ask me, what's the end game on this, Chris? It was kind of what she was driving at. Am I going to die with this thing and have it go to my benefit? Is that what the reason I'm doing it? Is it a legacy asset? No, the end game on this is it ends at when you enroll in Medicare. When you enroll in Medicare, this thing, you have to stop funding. Funding of it stops. And what the IRS says is you got to start getting the money out of the account. And it takes on the characteristics of an HRA, health reimbursement account. And what that means is you got to start using this money to cover costs not covered by TRICARE, if you're in TRICARE for life, Medicare, FEHB. If anything left over that they don't cover, you got to start using this money. We want you to start getting it out. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. By the time I run a claim through TRICARE or even FEHB or Medicare, then FEHB or TRICARE, there's going to be nothing left over for this to pay. Guess what? This is the beautiful thing about this. Guess what falls under the definition of a qualified medical expense for FEHB? Guess what falls under once I enroll in Medicare? Part B premiums fall under the definition of a qualified medical expense. Guess what else falls under the definition of a qualified medical expense once I enroll in Medicare? My part of my FEHB premiums. I got full premium conversion now. Guess what else falls under the definition of a qualified medical expense for this account? Long-term care insurance premiums. 3 ways in which you can recycle your money. You're putting it toward the foundation of your financial home. You didn't use it. Now you recycle it to the roof of your house. That woman who said she didn't want to use her money, you know why she said it? She said, the way I look at it, somebody asked her, like, why don't you just use the money? She goes, the way I look at it, my goal is to have free Part B in retirement. I want to be enrolled in Part B, but I don't want to pay for it. And I'm going to use that money to do it. And I'm going to pull it out tax-free to do it. Okay? That was the reason she was preserving it. So for some of you that maybe go out at MRA and TRICARE takes over at 59 or whatever, you know, maybe get some sock money in here and it'll get your rent because you're going to have to enroll in Part B to have TRICARE for life. Maybe you can sock enough money in there to get out of paying Part B premiums because I know that bugs a lot of TRICARE enrollees. So if you got an open window where you can do it, Get your money in there, build it up, and then at least maybe you can get 5 years, 10 years out of not paying Part B premiums, and the money comes out tax-free. Okay? Cash flow's king. These are shrink the gap opportunities. Okay? Any questions on that?
So to get into an HSA, which is different than an FSA,
Mm-hmm.
to get into the HSA, you have to be in a high deductible plan, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, listen, I've had a couple people that were enrolled in TRICARE at the time of doing it. They're getting away with it. I had 2 people in Quantico doing that. They're getting away with it. They're enrolled in a high deductible plan along with I told them, I said, you're getting away with it right now. If you ever get audited, they will catch that.
So for most of us. when
They were like, didn't bother-
when the
didn't
open
call me
period,
yet.
The medical period comes in, what is it, in November, December, I guess. How will we know, like if you're traditionally with a PPO, how will you know which of those plans are high deductible plans? Do they-
Let's go forward here. Oh, by the way, would you like, I'm going to answer your question, but before I do it, because I got to cover Medicare. I got to get before lunch here. And I know we're getting good questions today, and I don't want to cut anybody off. I want to cover that, though. The thing is, I want to give you a way. You want to know if you haven't done a Roth yet? How you can get money out of your TSP tax-free? Would you like to know? A lot of people don't know you can do this. You can roll money from your TSP into an IRA account. You can roll IRA money into an HSA account. None of it's a taxable event. There's a limit to what you can do, but you can do it. It's called a qualified distribution from an IRA. But you can't go directly from TSP into HSA. Not allowed. You're not allowed to move money from an employer-sponsored retirement plan to an employer-sponsored health care plan. Not allowed to do it. IRS won't allow it. You have to move it out and then back in. But you can do it. They put a limit to what you can do. It's 71. It's a once in the lifetime roll. And right now, it's at $7,100. As a matter of fact, they were going to bust the caps on it about a year ago when they were doing health care reform, but it got filibustered in the Senate and they didn't do it. They were going to have it unlimited. Like you could move all, which would have been nuts. God bless you. But I can tell you something right now. They want to encourage the use of this because this is truly bending the cost curve down. This is. You know why? When you introduce a program like this, utilization plummets. Utilization plummets. And what I mean by that, see, when you're responsible for the initial costs, you start checking into what things cost. You do, and it bends the cost curve down. And I know this from experience. When I do admin work for an employer, if they have a dual option plan, like they have a fully insured plan with a high deductible like this, the premium increases on these are usually 3 to 5%. On your fully insured plans, I have run into some ugly stuff, 30% premium increases because people just go. I mean, it happened to me my first year in this thing. I played pickup basketball. I used to play pickup basketball at my church on Sunday nights years ago. My first year enrolled in this, rolled my ankle in January. I'm thinking, I didn't think I broke it, but I'm figuring, I'll get an x-ray because I stand a lot. I'll go get the x-ray. So I'm driving to Holy Spirit Hospital. I'm driving there. I'm going, wait a second. I got a $6,500 deductible. By the time I walk out of an ER with an x-ray, it's going to be $2,000. So do you go get the x-ray? You put ice on it. You put ice on it. And look, if I thought I broke it, I would have really. I just thought, I'm not sure. I better check. And I figured if I have a problem the next day, I'll go see my GP for $75. Let them take a look at it. I didn't even do that. I was fine the next day. But had I had a fully insured plan, there was nothing keeping me from going. I would have went. I would have went. And the other thing is, you start checking into prices. My wife's got to get an MRI for her MS every year. When I had this plan, I called 2 MRI centers within 15 minutes of my house, both in network. I go, what do you charge? Difference was $450. I never knew that. Why would you even care? But you start checking into the price of stuff. Bends the cost curve down. So, see, that's the problem with healthcare that this is kind of addressing. You're paying for it. You're not seeing it. There's a real lack of transparency. And if you doubt that, next time you're in the waiting room of a doctor's office, look for the price list. See how far you get. Or better yet, offer to pay cash to a doctor. See what their response will be. I mean, they're going to be like, I don't know what to do with you. I mean, but there's no transparency to anything. So there's no, you're paying for it, but there's no incentive to control costs. Okay. To answer your question, that was long-winded, I know. No. 1 or 2 websites before your open season. The second one is the grid. It'll tell you like all the costs, all the coverages, and the subsidy you'll get in your HSA account, okay? I got to get to Medicare. I know I'm running pretty far behind. I'm getting good questions though, and I don't want to discourage it. Okay, I want to cover, are we good? Can I go for a little bit longer? You want to take a break? Lunch break or like small break? What do you want to do? I'm putting the burden on you. Lunch break? Lunch break. Take an hour, right? You bet.